Is China's Yuan slowly chipping away US dollar's power? In a new column by Mint columnist Dr. Niranjan Rajadhyaksh, who's also executive director at Arth India Research, presents an interesting perspective or a case in point. The US dollar, ladies and gentlemen, still dominates global trade invoicing, but cracks are appearing according to the column. China's renminbi is slowly gaining space, driven by geopolitics and trade realignments. You heard that right. Could this gradual shift reshape the global currency order, or is the greenback dominance here to stay? A new paper for the International Monetary Fund by 6 economists, including Gita Gopinath, is based on an updated database on trade invoicing from 132 countries from the year 1990 to 2023. First finding, the dominance of the US dollar as the preferred currency for trade invoicing continues, but certain shifts are happening, important ones. The most important is that even while the use of renminbi is still at modest levels, its use is gradually increasing, initially in Asia, but now in other parts of the world as well. Number 2, geopolitical linkages are gaining importance in a world that is rapidly fracturing. Much has changed, ladies and gentlemen, since the Russian invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Now, countries that are not geopolitically aligned with the US are gradually shifting away from the dollar as their invoicing currency, replacing it with either their home currencies or, you guessed it right, the renminbi. This, the authors say, is an evidence of an emerging fragmentation in invoicing patterns along geopolitical lines. Now, in August 2024, the US Federal Reserve had said in a note that the prospect of the Chinese currency replacing the US dollar in international trade is out of the question in the foreseeable future. But the US Central Bank also added that the role of the renminbi is likely to increase in the future. Now, American sanctions against Russia will make the renminbi an attractive currency for trade with that country, but gradually spread as other countries worried about the threat of punitive US restrictions shift away from the dollar. And that is what many American economists have been warning, that weaponization of finance will eventually lead to the demise of the dollar if continued. There are reasons for this change as well, including the sheer size of China's international trade as well as the deliberate attempts by its government to internationalize its currency. Now, let's keep that apart for one moment. An important factor assisting this theory is China's stockpiling of 2 essential commodities which influence dollar heavily: crude oil and gold. Let's come to oil first. China has purchased more than 150 million barrels, costing about $10 billion at current prices, above its actual use so far this year. Now, for a country that buys more EVs than any other, that demands dissection. China has understood that it needs to boost its oil security in a world where the US is wielding sanctions and tariffs. Today, China buys 20% of its oil from countries under US sanctions like Iran, Russia, and Venezuela. None can guarantee that the US would not be able to, at the very least, hinder that flow in the future. Building more stocks is only prudent. Now, this information is also according to a recent Mint article. Check it out. Next in line is gold. China's gold reserves stood at 74.02 million ounces at the end of August, up from 73.96 million at the end of July. Now, they were valued at $253.84 billion, up from $243.99 billion at the end of the previous month, according to the data released by the central bank. Now, the US dollar is still the currency of invoicing, preferred currency of invoicing, for around 65% of international trade by value, but the renminbi accounts for just 5%. Now, international monetary systems have strong network effects, which means countries get locked into using a particular currency for international transactions based on other countries also using it. However, strategic efforts by Beijing to make its currency more attractive for international usage as well as global disruptions unleashed by US President Donald Trump seem to be supporting the slow rise of the renminbi as a currency for international trade. Invoicing for now, but maybe trade later. This is an interesting space, and we at Mint shall keep you posted with all the latest updates. This is Gopinath signing off.